got a lot to get to today. I am going to be sharing an update of our first 4 to 5 weeks of school, how that's been going, what's working, what's not working, and just some updates that I want to share. So let's get started. If you're new here, my name is Lauren. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 girls. This is our 5th year of homeschooling. I have a 5th grader and a 1st grader who I homeschool and a 3rd grader who goes to Christian school for the first time this year. If you're interested in that, I will leave that video down below. This year is looking a little bit different than it has looked in any other homeschool year. This is the first year someone has not been home with us while we homeschool. So I'm going to go through each individual girl and just kind of share. I'm not going to go through all of their curriculum or anything like that, but just kind of share some of the highlights and just an overall things of how it's going. First, I want to share a really awesome deal. I'm really excited to share it with you guys. It is a teacher's club card and it is from Creative Fabrica. This teacher club card allows you to have access to 11,000 different teaching resources. You can download 5 resources per week, 260 for the year, and the best part is it is just $2.99, not per month, $2.99 for the entire year. You get access to so many different teaching materials from fall and winter bundles. Every single season and holiday has a bundle or worksheet that you can do activities. There are toddler worksheets, there are multiplication games, there is human body experiments, there's Montessori, there are mindfulness worksheets, as well as math games, farm themes, solar systems, truly anything you could think of and then more. The price that you see listed below the picture is how much you would pay if you are not part of the teacher discount club card. So if you don't have this discount, you will be paying those prices. However, paying $2.99 for the year, you're getting them free. So literally just buying one of these is worth it. It's totally worth it for the entire year's worth of subscriptions. Here is an example of a fall unit study. So there's printables and all kinds of games and worksheets that can go along with that. They also come with Spanish resources as well. Then here is a seasons learning bundle. It is all 4 seasons. It's 600 pages worth of Montessori activities for all of the seasons. It would be more than worth the purchase of the card for this bundle alone. They have several different homeschool planners where you can plan for the week, the day, the month, different unit studies and lessons, and you can have one for each child. You can log reading materials, wish lists, and make several different notes. This one is really cool because you can edit this. Once you download it, you can make it your own and personalize it for you. Lastly, it's not just for younger kids. They have things for older kids as well. So they have STEM activities, brain builders, fraction worksheets, multiplication and division worksheets. So they have things for upper elementary into middle school and even high school. This is the unit that Lola ended up choosing. There's so many different ones, but she wanted something fall related. So she can do these pretty much any time of the day, but I'm thinking most of the time she'll do these during our morning basket while she's listening to the story or to the Bible lesson. I can have her coloring at the same time. Lexi also wanted to get in on the action, so she chose a animal science unit. This is a really cool unit study on all things animals. Everything from vertebrates, invertebrates, amphibians, fish, birds, mammals. There's so many different little activities that they can do in this unit, and there's also true-false questions and fill in the blanks. So you really could make this an entire unit study on its own, or it could go along with a science unit that you are studying. So again, this is a really awesome deal. I couldn't believe it was $2.99 for an entire year. So this will be really great as a great resource to have. We're still at the beginning of the school year, so this is something that you can start to incorporate throughout the year. Okay, so let's start with Lola. I'm just gonna go in order. She is the youngest, so Lola is in 1st grade now. And she is a little bit young for 1st grade. She just turned 6 this past week. So she was 5 when she started. So technically she should, if she was enrolled in school, she would only be going into kindergarten. And the reason that I had started her is just because I feel like this probably happens with many younger children of siblings who homeschool, is that they see their older siblings doing books and, you know, learning and all that. And a lot of times the younger kids I know get excited and want to start earlier than probably they would if their sisters or if their siblings went off to school. So, you know, she saw for several years her sisters doing school. So when she was, I guess, 3 or 4, she asked for books. So we did preschool with her. And I just kind of was taking that year as it was. I was just like, you know, she's still young. I'm not really, we'll just take it how it is and see how it goes. And so she did well during her preschool year. And then last year, same thing was with kindergarten. She's technically wasn't even supposed to be in kindergarten, but she had done really well in preschool. And so I said, well, let's see how kindergarten goes. So we took that year and it went well too. She did really well. She kept up with the kindergarten work. She finished all of her work and learned to read and all that good stuff. So this year was no exception. I said, let's see how it goes. Let's see if she can keep up with the first grade work, even though technically, and I know as homeschoolers, we're not allowed to say behind or ahead or anything like that, but I think you know what I'm saying. Technically, if she was in a school, she would be in kindergarten. So I said, let's see how it goes. And this year, I feel like we have finally come to it where it's like, oh, I think we're kind of a little bit in over our heads right now. Can she do the work? Yes. Is she capable of doing it? Yes. Is she following along? Yes. But I think it's going at a rate that's going to be a little bit too much for her. I think it's a little bit too much for her. I think maturity level wise, she's just not quite there yet. So there's nothing wrong. Like, I'm not worried or stressed out or anything. I'm just trying to kind of reassess, like, okay, it's been a month. And I know the first few weeks are a little bit rusty because you were just coming back from summer break and we took the summer off and she just did some light work here and there throughout the summer. And so, but I don't even think it was that, because her reading and everything she was doing really well with. She picked up right where she left off with reading. With math, all of that. I think it's just moving at a little bit of a faster rate. And again, she can do it. It's just taking very, very, very long. And I think it's a little bit, I could just tell. And the reason I know is because I used the exact same curriculum 2 years ago with my other daughter, my middle daughter, Lexi. And so I know how Abecca's heading. I know how it's going to work. And I just think that this might be a little bit too fast for her. And I'm fearful that I think I might burn her out. And I don't want to do that. So ideally, honestly, she probably, if the school year started in January, like a few months from now, I feel like she'd be ready. But you know, all kids are different. And I think that, that I need to just take this next few months, honestly, and just kind of, I think I want to slow down. So I'm really praying and like just thinking how I can do that, whether it is, doing math just 3 days a week instead of 4, slowing down with her language. I'm just trying to think of how I can do that. Maybe just even pausing Abecca altogether right now and doing something like explode the code for a little bit to keep up with her phonics and, you know, continue her reading. I'm just really thinking about like what I'm going to do. So I'll keep you up to date with that and I'll let you know. At this point, I still don't have a solution. I just know I don't want to keep going at the rate she's doing, because I know it will kind of become a little bit too fast for her. And just the work required is a little bit too much. So I'm just trying to think what I can cut back on. I've already cut back on her spelling. And I'm like, well, what else can she needs to read, she needs to know phonics. So what else can I kind of scale back a little bit till probably January? And like I said, I did this whole curriculum with Lexi. Now Lexi is in the same boat. She has a birthday that's right on the cusp that she could go either way. She could, you know, and because Lola's birthday is in September, Lexi's is in end of August. So she literally was right on that line, like 10 days away from that cutoff. And so for her, I went a year behind. So she technically could be in 4th grade, but she's in 3rd grade right now. So she was already 7 when she was doing all of this. So when she was doing all of her first grade work, I can just see the big difference between the two. I can tell, okay, a year really, really does make a difference. I could just tell the difference. So that's the only reason I know this is a little bit too much for Lola to do right now. And that's okay. It's just time to go back to the drawing board and figure out what we're going to do. I was going to say renegotiate. That's not what we need to do. I just need to figure out like how I can make this work for her. I do want to say, now this is not something I was expecting, but I found this a few weeks ago. I'm sorry, just a few days ago. So she got to a lesson in the Good and the Beautiful. She's doing the new math level 1. And there came a lesson and it just was not, it was just a lot. Like they went from like a good pace to way overwhelming. Basically it was adding on 3, how to add on 3. They went from 2 lessons before adding, 3 plus 2 is 5 and 6 plus 2 is 8 to, simple math problems like that to, in this lesson, it was what is 24 plus 3 and 18 plus 3. And on top of that, they didn't even instruct how to find adding on plus 3. There was no number line. There was no nothing. It was literally play this game and there was no instruction. And I thought that was a little bit of that was a little concerning to me. I know that the Good and the Beautiful has revamped their math last year. And so this is basically like a first edition. And so I know with first editions, there's going to be kinks and stuff. So I'll give it to them. I'm not going to like totally say, well, this is terrible and throw it out the window or anything like that. Cause we've loved the Good and the Beautiful math. We've used it for years, but I didn't really love that. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you, my thoughts and things, for what it's worth. I will let you know. But that was a little bit of like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that they didn't give any instructions. Now let's move on to Lexi. She is in 3rd grade. She is going to a Christian school this year. And I know most of you were here for homeschooling content, but many of you asked, let us know how she's doing in school. Keep us up to date. We want an update of how it's going. So at this point, it's only been, like I said, 4 or 5 weeks. I don't have much. I can't say too much because I want to make sure that we do a full year before I can really give a recap. But so far, so good. There has been, a few little hiccups and learning curves along the way, and it is a different environment for her. I would say the biggest thing is just like for all of us is like getting up and having to be out the door at a certain time. Because with homeschooling, obviously the morning time that you start is flexible. And so yes, we would try to start at 8:30 or 9, but like this is like, you don't have a choice. You have to be ready and out the door. So like our morning chores that I have talked about, those have kind of gone out the window. Yeah, we're just doing good at this point to get up, get ourselves dressed, breakfast, lunch, backpack, all of that, and out the door. So then as far as like academics and things like that, she is using all BJU press. So that is obviously a traditional curriculum. She's having to do spelling tests and, math tests and science tests and Bible tests and all of that. She's doing tests and quizzes. She's doing a project right now. And so she's got homework. So she's actually doing really well with it so far. She's getting all A's and a few B's. And again, I know we're not supposed to celebrate as homeschool moms, good grades and all that because tests are arbitrary. But honestly, I'm really happy. I'm happy that she's doing well. And I'm happy that she is getting good grades and keeping up and all of that fun stuff. I don't care to admit that. I will admit that. I'm glad that she's not struggling and she went right in and did well. So we've had really good discussions about just academics and friends and all of that stuff that goes into it. Thankfully, she is not the type of child who like comes in the door, how was school today? Fine. What'd you learn today? Nothing. What did you do today? I don't know. She tells me all about her day, gives lots and lots of details. She's excited to let us know everything that happened, and I love listening. So we've had lots and lots of discussion on all of that stuff as well, and I'm just glad it's given us an opportunity to have that. I will say 2 things. First, it is quieter. My homeschool is so much quieter, and it's not that Lexi was like the loud one. She's probably the quietest one of all 3, but you know how it is, like when you have multiple kids and one of them is gone, it's so much quieter. So it would be like that, whether Lola was gone or Larissa, it doesn't matter. You just take one of them out of the equation. It's like, oh my goodness, this is so like calm. So that is one thing I've noticed. The second thing I've noticed, yes, I do miss her during the day. I really do, but we are getting into like our rhythm and routine of things. And then the third thing is the girls each get jealous of each other. So like Lexi, like when the girls, you know, at home do something fun for homeschool, Lexi's like, oh man, I missed out on that. And then when Lexi does something cool or has some fun thing that she did at school, then the other two are like, oh my goodness, we missed out on that. And so there is always going to be this little FOMO back and forth between each one. And I kind of say, hey, you're each going to have to do things that, you know, you each get to do things that the other person isn't going to get to do. And then about 5 seconds later, they forget and move on with their day. So as far as Lexi, I will give more of an update probably mid-year through the way or towards the end of the year, probably both. I still will give updates. I just, at this point, I don't want to say, yep, this is what we're doing for the rest of our lives for her for school, or no, she's coming back. Like, we don't know yet. We just have to take our time and kind of give it at least close to a full year so we can really get an idea and really see what we want to do for next year. For Larissa, she is in 5th grade. She is my oldest. Most of her curriculum she is doing from last year. She's just doing the next level up. So I don't really have anything too surprising. I will say her math, again, with the good and the beautiful, she's only done the old math. So this year she's doing the new math, which has the lesson, the video lesson built in. She didn't think she would like that, but I think she's enjoying that. It's not that is her issue. It is the math is taking very, very long, like at least an hour, most of the time an hour, 15 minutes, sometimes an hour and a half. I was thinking in my head, like I kind of budget out the time. It's not that we go by a strict like 10:30 to 10:45 is this, but I do try to figure that I do want our day to be done in a certain time frame, like kind of in a time, like a gap of time, a bulk of time. And so when you're budgeting 45 minutes for that and it's taking an hour and a half, like that 45 minutes can make a big difference, you know? I was a little surprised by that. I really was. I didn't think it was going to take that long. I feel like an hour and 15 minutes to do 5th grade math is a long time. And so again, it's not really anything with the good and the beautiful. That's just what it is. It's just taking that long. I'd be curious to know though, I did ask on Instagram, but I want to ask you guys here too, for your 5th grader, it doesn't matter what curriculum they're using, 5th, 6th grader, how long does math take? Cause I'm like this, I feel like that's a long time, but maybe I'm just need to adjust my expectations. She's not really like complaining about it or anything. I mean, there's been a few times where it's been like, oh my goodness, this is taking forever. But for the most part, she just does it. I think I'm going to change it a little bit and I'll talk to that in a second. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But as far as her language arts, thankfully, she's doing level 5 of the good and the beautiful. She did level 4 last year, and level 5 is shorter than level 4. Like there's not as many pages, there's just not as many exercises to do. I'm sure it is harder, but it's just not, the lessons don't take as long as level 4 did. So that kind of thankfully evens out. She pretty much does all her other work in the length of time it takes her to do one math lesson. So I just feel like the scales are a little bit uneven, but maybe this year will just be a heavy math year and that's what it will be. Like I said, so she's in 5th grade. We did American history when she was in 3rd grade, I think. And then in 4th grade, we did Around the World with Beautiful Feet books. So that's kind of, it's not really history. It's more of like a social studies, cultural studies, geography type of program. It's a little bit history, but not really. And then 5th grade, that's what we're doing too. We're doing part 2 of Around the World with picture books. From Beautiful Feet. But here, my thing is like, okay, so she's in 5th grade. Next year, she'll be in 6th grade. And she's really only had 1 year of history, really, honestly. And I just was like, oh, that only gives her a few years, because then by the older years, she's going to have to do like government and economics and all that. So I'm like, that really only gives her a few years of history. And what the histories I'm looking at each take multiple years just to cover like American history, or multiple years just to cover world history. So I want her to be at least a little bit, like I want her to have at least a few years worth of each. And so what I did is, we're still using Beautiful Feet books we were going to use it 5 days a week, but instead we're just going to use it 4 days a week. And the 5th day I am going to use another history for her. So what I did is I asked her, I said, Larissa, you know, how do you feel about this? You've learned American history. We're doing kind of world geography studies right now. What do you think about just a 1-year course of world history? And she said that that was fine. She said, yeah, sure. So I gave her the option. Do you want to do like a literature-based program where there's a small lesson, but you're reading books that go along with it, and, you know, chapter books, because she's a huge reader. She loves to read. Or do you want to go with like a textbook style where all the information is in the textbook? And I could see her going either way, because she is kind of like a straight to the point type of girl too. So I could see her picking either one. And she said, you know what, let's just do a textbook. So I said, okay. So that kind of eliminated any literature-based programs, because she didn't want to do that this year. She wanted to do a textbook. So I narrowed it down to some of the textbook curriculum that was going to be within like the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade level. So I narrowed it down to BJU Press, Abeka. I did look at master books, even though that is like a 3-year study. I was trying to figure that out, how we could do that in maybe 2 years. And then Christian Light, and I think Alpha and Omega Publishing, I believe. Those were like the 5, you know, the little like life pack things, like the little packs of history that comes in like 10 little packs of history. Anyway, so she narrowed that down, and she was choosing between those 2, 3, or 5, or whatever it was. And she narrowed down her choices, and ultimately she chose that she wanted to do the Abeka world history. So that's what we're doing. I got her the 5th grade world history. So it will be covering actually the countries that we studied last year, which is Africa, Asia, and a little bit of Australia. She will be studying Europe this year. So it's old world history. And so she will be studying that. She's been studying that. Again, we do that just on Mondays, and then we read that together. And then throughout the rest of the week, she reads some of it on her own. And then we do the comprehension checks together, and, you know, to make sure she is grasping it and understanding it. And so far so good. This isn't like the most amazing thing in the world for her, but she likes it. She does enjoy it, and it's something that she kind of chose. So that's how I kind of let my kids, especially my older ones, help in choosing the curriculum that they want to go with. And then lastly for her, she is doing homework. Yes, not my 3rd grader in school, she does homework too, but my 5th grader is homeschools, is doing homework. That's the type of, my mom looked at me the other day, she's like, is she even biologically related to us? And I was like, I don't know. I think I may have shared this. I don't know if I did or not. She created like in Canva her own little homework thing that she wanted, and I laminated it, and she fills it out. So the homework she does is spelling. She gives herself a spelling list, like the spelling list that she's doing. She copies out one time, and then she either reads some of the history book. So again, since we're only doing it 1 day a week, we can't read an entire, 20-page chapter or something. So we read a few pages, and then her homework is to read some pages on her own. So she alternates between that, and then science, we are doing the Good and the Beautiful Science, and she, the 7th, like the grade extension, 7th to 8th grade extension, lesson extension, she just reads that. She doesn't really do any of the extra work or anything. She just reads the information just to have it. So she'll do that. And then for her homework, for her math homework, since the lessons are taking so long, what I'm having her do, we're going to start incorporating this, is that she is going to just do the actual lesson and the problems, and then any review problems that they have, because there's always review problems, about 10 to 15 of those, she will do those problems for homework. And so she still will be doing a lesson a day. It's just going to be broken up. So the homework isn't necessarily like I'm giving her just all this mounds and mounds. It's literally just copying, finishing her math lesson, and then reading some of her history or reading some science. It really doesn't take that long. She wants to do it. And I kept saying, like, are you sure you do school like throughout the whole day? Why do you no, Mom, I really want to do it. So she wants to do it. And so I'm like, okay, if you want to do that, then that's fine. You know, it is what it is. So that's our update. That is what's been going on. It's been an eventful past few weeks just to see how things are going. We had to kind of get into a new routine of, you know, homeschool and regular school. So again, don't forget to check out Creative Fabrica. Get yourself the Teacher Club Card, $2.99 for the whole year, a year's worth of fun for your child. I'm also going to be doing a little life update. I have some announcements that I want to make and just kind of share what my life has been like for the past year and a half, not on YouTube. You see me on YouTube like giving reviews and homeschool updates and a little bit of a day in the life, but you know, that's not completely life. So I just want to share what life has been like really and truly what it's been like. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe, stick around. I share lots of homeschooling content. That's what my main source is here, but I do share some like just real life stuff as well too. So make sure you stick around. If you did like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.